So let me go back to this idea of the poetry and the politics of color imagery, of black and white color imagery that we're going to see in Othello. So a good way to illustrate the first part, the sort of poetic element of black-white imagery, contrasting black and white imagery, is maybe to examine very briefly a passage from a famous poem by Wallace Stevens called 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird. If you look at the opening stanza, among 20 snowy mountains, the only moving thing was the eye of the blackbird. He presents us with an image, a fairly simple image, and it's an image that relies on the contrast between black and white. Let's look at it a little more closely. Among 20 snowy mountains, the only moving thing was the eye of the blackbird. And obviously, when we see the word snowy mountains, we had an image, a broad expanse of whiteness. And then the eye of the blackbird, we can picture the black feathers, the blackness of the blackbird, but also even more significantly, that the eye that perhaps is even blacker. This is really what I'm talking about when I talk about aesthetic imagery used for a poetic aesthetic idea, where what Shakespeare does in Othello is sometimes he creates images that contrast the whiteness and the blackness of Desdemona's skin and Othello's skin in this sense, simply as a poetic device to create beauty of the scene and to contrast their skin colors from a variety of reasons, but many of which are simply aesthetic, about creating a beautiful image. However, because of our cultural associations, because of what becomes our ideas about race, the ideas of a contrast of black and white take on greater significance. So this image here is not simply an image that speaks of simply a contrast in skin colors, but because of the prejudices of our society, because of the ways that our culture has created ideas of significance based around skin color, this image is not simply contrasting for poetic reasons, but it carries political weight as well. It carries the weight of all of our potential prejudices. It carries the weight of societal views of race, and it moves beyond simply an aesthetic contrast between a darker skin and lighter skin, and takes on the ramifications of something we would call cultural or political. And Shakespeare plays also in Othello with that. So that's kind of what I wanted to get across to you by talking about the poetics of black-white imagery and also the politics of black-white imagery. I hope that helps clarify that idea a little bit more clearly.